Hey guys! Tonight we step into candlelight and old secrets, where velvet sheets whisper like ghosts and the air smells faintly of lavender and smoke. You open your eyes slowly. No memory, no noise, but the low creak of wood and the soft flutter of your breath. You're lying in a grand bed, high canopied and draped in burgundy curtains, the kind a baroness might choose for her private quarters. You sit up. The room is dim, lit only by the faint glow of sconces. The window's been left open, and a night breeze plays with the sheer curtains, bringing in the cool hush of mist and some far-off owl's hoot. You recognize nothing, and yet everything feels strangely familiar. Maybe it's the scent of beeswax polish on the floors, or the way your fingers instinctively find the ribbon at your throat, tugging at it as if it holds some hidden meaning. A voice in your bones murmurs, "Again?" Cheeky, isn't it? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to my channel, Whisper Audio, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me in the comments, where and when are you listening from tonight? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The silk gown on your body is stitched with tiny pearls. You run your hands down it, half expecting to wake up again, this time back in your dusty studio flat, where the ceiling leaks and your neighbor's chihuahua howls like a damned soul every night at 11. But this isn't that. There's a portrait on the wall, a woman with your face, only younger, sadder, and dressed for mourning. Her eyes seem to follow you, though maybe that's just your overworked imagination. You find slippers by the bed. Velvet, again. You pad toward the window and peer out over a lawn so wide and manicured, it looks like something stolen from a dream. Beyond that, dark woods, whispering. A light flickers in a tower nearby. You don't know why, but your breath catches. It's not fear exactly, it's expectation. Then, a knock. You freeze. The door creaks open without your permission, and in steps an older woman in servant's black. Severe bun, apron crisp as a blade. "My lady," she says, eyes flicking down to your bare throat. "Your necklace." "Necklace?" Her brow twitches. "The locket, it never leaves you. You wore it even in your grave." You blink. "I was in a..." "What?" She smiles politely. "You must still be dazed. Come, let's dress you for supper. Lord Hawthorne doesn't tolerate lateness." Lord Hawthorne. The name scratches at your memory, sharp and faint. You follow her numbly as she helps you into a high-waisted gown of dark blue silk, your corset tied expertly, fingers dancing like piano keys. As she fastens the final buttons, you ask, "What's your name?" "Mrs. Digby," she says. "You used to call me Aunt." Used to. Down the long, candlelit corridor, your footsteps echo. The manor's stone walls are hung with tapestries and ancestral portraits, every face long-nosed and cold-eyed. You don't belong here, but your body walks like it remembers the route. At the top of the grand staircase, you glance down, and there he is, standing in the foyer in a black velvet coat, silver at his cuffs, is the man who once watched you die. You don't know how you know that, but you do. His hair is tousled, dark as ink. A streak of gray slashes through one side. His eyes are unreadable, though they glance up, as if sensing your stare. He wears a ring shaped like a falcon, clutching a garnet. And your breath? Gone. You descend slowly, hand trailing the carved balustrade. His lips twitch, barely a smile, more of a ghost of recognition. "Lady Evelyn," he says. His voice is deep, low. "I trust your rest was sufficient." You nod. Words? Who needs them? Not you, apparently. He offers his arm and you place your hand lightly there. His coat is warm. He leads you into the dining hall where an absurdly long table gleams with crystal and silver, and dinner smells of roast duck and honeyed carrots. 4 other people sit spaced like chess pieces. You're introduced quickly. Lady Isolde, pale, sharp-boned, blonde like frostbite. His fiancé, apparently. Viscount Brendel, merry-eyed, drunk already. Some bishop whose name you immediately forget. And finally, Grandmother Hawthorne, still, stern, silent. She doesn't blink once during the meal. You eat politely, though your stomach knots. Lady Isolde watches you like a falcon, her gloved fingers toying with her goblet. She's recovered marvelously, some might say, unnaturally. You look at her. You might say you need a hobby. A silence falls. Viscount Brandel chokes on his wine. Lord Hawthorne, beside you, clears his throat, amused. "Apologies," you say with an elegant shrug. "The veil between life and death hasn't improved my manners." The bishop makes the sign of the cross. You stab a carrot. After dessert, some glazed fig tart that tastes oddly familiar. Lord Hawthorne leads you into the conservation where moonlight dapples the floor and violins play softly from nowhere. You're alone. He speaks without turning. "You don't remember dying, do you?" You flinch. "Should I?" "You cried out my name that night, in fire. Do you remember that?" You say nothing. He finally turns, studying you. "The night I lost you, the hawk screamed thrice. It hasn't called since, until today." You think of the ring, the falcon, the blood-colored garnet. "I'm not who I was," you say. He steps closer. "Neither am I." Outside, the wind rattles the windows, and somewhere far in the woods, something calls your name. Maybe you were never meant to survive this time, but here you are. You wake in the night to the sound of your name. It isn't whispered, not precisely. It's more like a hum through the walls, threaded between the sigh of the wind and the creak of ancient beams. You sit up in bed, heart doing that irritating thing where it thinks you're in a gothic novel and decides to thump dramatically against your ribs. The moonlight is spilling in again, silver as spilled ink across the floorboards. The windows still open, the curtains stir gently like ghosts stretching. You slip from the bed. Cold air kisses your skin and raises a trail of goosebumps down your arms. You aren't wearing the blue gown anymore. Now it's a thin linen shift, and you wonder who changed you and how many secrets they're keeping behind those stony servant expressions. Outside the window, the gardens are veiled in mist. A shadow moves along the gravel path below. You lean forward, heart caught in your throat. It's him, Lord Hawthorne, alone, bareheaded, wearing only a dark tunic and trousers, as if he had no intention of being seen. He walks with purpose, one hand clenched at his side. You don't think, you just act. The hall is cold beneath your bare feet. You find a cloak on a peg, something moth-bitten but warm enough, and follow the stairs down past snoring portraits and a grandfather clock that ticks just slightly too loud. You catch up to him near the stables. He stops without turning, says only, "I was hoping you'd follow." "How did you know I didn't." He finally looks at you, and his eyes catch the moonlight like glass. But the hawk called again. You're starting to suspect this man has a hawk-based worldview. You glance toward the stables, but there's no horse waiting. Instead, he leads you past them, through a hidden gate in the hedge, and onto a narrow path you never noticed before. Where are we going? Where you died. Ah, casual. You walk in silence through the woods, the path winding like a memory. Your fingers brush his arm once, and you both flinch, though neither of you pull away. Finally, in a clearing of broken moonlight and rustling leaves, he stops. There's an old stone wall here, what remains of a once grand tower. Burned timbers jut from the earth like ribs from a buried beast. The air tastes faintly of ash, even now. He says, "This was the chapel." You look around. "The one from the portrait?" He nods. "We were to be married here. You ran that night, said you'd remembered something. You disappeared into the fire. I couldn't follow in time." You shiver. He turns to face you, jaw clenched. "Why did you leave me, Evelyn?" "I don't know. I don't even know if I am her." He studies your face like a puzzle he's desperate to solve, but too tired to finish. His hand drifts toward yours, then stops. "I buried you. I wore mourning for a year. I built a shrine." You try to joke, but your voice catches. "Romantic." "Slightly creepy, but romantic." He smiles crookedly. "You were always like this." You wander the ruins, touching stones that feel too familiar, too warm. And then, beneath a collapsed arch, you see it. A hawk. Not a living one. A carving, half covered in moss, etched into the stone like a sigil. Around its neck, a faint groove, where once, perhaps, a real necklace had hung. You kneel before it, heart racing. Was this ours? He doesn't answer. When you glance back, he's staring at your throat, at the empty space where the locket should be. You whisper, "She wore it in her grave, didn't she?" He nods. A breeze stirs the leaves, and you swear you hear something, just a trace of laughter, a woman's, familiar but wrong, too sweet. You stand. Someone's watching us. He draws closer. Lady Isolde has spies, always has. She has plans too. I can imagine. She doesn't know who you are, but she suspects. He steps even closer so that you can feel the heat of his body through the night air. If she confirms it, if she believes you're truly Evelyn reborn, she'll do worse than what happened the first time. You raise a brow. And what happened the first time? He leans in, voice barely audible. You were burned for treason. Ah. Well, that would explain the ash-scented nightmares. A branch snaps. You both turn. But it's just a deer, silent and wide-eyed, passing like a ghost through the trees. He exhales. Come, we should go back. You need rest. You look up at him. Will I remember? He says, only if you want to. You don't know what that means, but it burrows under your skin like a spell. Back at the manor you part at the garden gate, he catches your wrist just once before letting go, and in that touch you feel something sparking. Old love buried deep. Or maybe you're imagining it, because wouldn't that be more comforting than the alternative, that you really did once die in his arms? As you slip into your room, you notice something strange. A silver feather on your pillow. It's not real, metal, delicate, sharp at the end, like jewelry, like a pendant. You pick it up. It pricks your finger and a single drop of blood wells up. You suck the wound absently, mind spinning. Outside your window, in the dark above the forest, you hear it again. A hawk's cry. 3 times. You shut the window, lock it. But you still dream of fire. The morning sun finds you curled on your side, fingers still wrapped around the silver feather. It's colder now, and somehow sharper than it was last night, like the metal itself has grown teeth in the dark. There's a knock, 2 gentle taps, and Mrs. Digby enters without waiting. She carries a tray with steaming tea, a warm bun, and something wrapped in linen. "You're summoned," she says, with a polite tilt of her head. "Lord Hawthorne requests your presence in the East Wing." You eye the tray. "And what happens if I don't come?" "Then Lady Isolde will come looking for you instead." Right. Motivation enough. As you rise and dress, Mrs. Digby lays out a deep crimson gown trimmed with black lace. Mourning colors. You pause. This was hers, wasn't it? Mrs. Digby doesn't blink. It fits you now. The East Wing is quieter than the rest of the house, less trodden, cloaked in a kind of respectful hush, like even the dust knows not to speak too loudly. Your footsteps echo over ancient tiles, and then you arrive at a high wooden door slightly ajar. Inside, a drawing room soaked in pale light. The windows are tall, the curtains drawn halfway, and every inch of the space smells like lavender and paper. Lord Hawthorne stands by the fireplace, but he isn't alone. Lady Isolde is perched in a high-backed chair near him, legs elegantly crossed, a teacup resting on her palm like it might whisper secrets to her. She turns to you with a smile so civil it could strip paint from wood. "Ah, there she is," she murmurs, "the ghost bride." "Good morning to you too," you reply sweetly. Lord Hawthorne looks between you both, like a man who regrets all his past decisions. "Isolde," he says tightly, "Evelyn has no memory of the past. Don't poison her with your superstition." "Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. Though the staff have plenty of their own tales. It's said if you whisper a name into the feather of a hawk, the soul of the dead will answer. Funny, isn't it? Your fingers twitch at your side. Anyway," she continues, rising smoothly, "I came only to offer my welcome, and to return this." She reaches into her coat and produces something small, a locket, oval, tarnished, familiar. Your throat tightens. She places it delicately on the table, like an offering. You left it behind, last lifetime. You don't move, neither does Hawthorne. "Enjoy your chat," she says, gliding past you. She brushes your shoulder as she exits, her voice low. "But remember, just because you died once, doesn't mean you can't do it again. After the door shuts, Hawthorne exhales. She's fond of dramatics. I noticed, you say, stepping forward. Your eyes stay on the locket. Is it really mine? He nods. Inside is a miniature portrait of you. You lift the locket with careful fingers. It's cold. You open it. 2 tiny portraits stare back at you. One is you, Evelyn, smiling faintly, younger and unspeakably sad. The other is Lord Hawthorne, only he looks almost kind. You blink. The hinge creaks softly as you close it. Was I truly her? He doesn't speak right away. Instead, he moves to the window. When I first saw you again, I didn't believe it. How could I? You'd been dead 10 years. But when you looked at me, truly looked, I knew. That's not an answer. No, he agrees. It isn't. There's a beat of silence. Then he says, let me show you something. He leads you down to the crypt beneath the manor. You didn't even know there was a crypt until now, but of course there is. Every proper haunted estate needs one. It smells of candle wax and cold stone. You follow him past iron gates and worn steps until you reach a small alcove lined with flowers, dried, carefully arranged. At the center is a stone slab. Your name is carved on it, Lady Evelyn Hawthorne, beloved fiancée, burned for betrayal, laid to rest with honor. May her soul find peace. The words scrape against your chest like jagged glass. This was my tomb? He nods. You swallow. You buried me as your wife. You were more than that. Even then, you touch the stone. It's colder than the rest of the room, and you can't help but wonder if it remembers the weight of your bones. A small copper coin rests at the base of the plaque. What's this? He says quietly. A custom, to buy safe passage for souls that wander. The locals say if the coin vanishes overnight, the spirit has chosen to stay. And if it remains, then the dead don't want to be found. You look at the coin again. Your fingertips hover over it. I don't remember betraying you. I don't remember anything worth burning for. There are things you wrote, letters, kept in the attic. Some of them don't make sense, like you knew something others didn't. And you never burned them? I couldn't. You face him. And what if I'm not her? What if this is some cruel trick? Then I'm a fool. He steps closer. But I'd rather be a fool with hope than a coward without you. Your breath catches. The air seems thinner down here, like it's being pulled between what was and what is. A soft click. You both turn sharply. Someone has locked the gate above. You race back up, pulse pounding, and rattle the bars. Nothing. Just silence. And then a soft, amused voice. Well, how unfortunate. Lady Isolde. You press against the bars. You can't be serious. Oh, but I am. Her tone is honeyed, mocking. 2 lovers locked in the tomb. How terribly poetic. I'll scream. No one will hear you. But do shout. It'll amuse the spirits. Her footsteps fade away. Hawthorne mutters a curse. She's gone too far. No kidding. He checks the walls, then the gate, searching for some hidden latch. You slump down on a bench that smells faintly of cedar and death. She really hates me. She fears you, he corrects, which is worse. A long silence stretches between you. "Do you regret it?" you ask suddenly. "Loving me?" He glances back, brows drawn. "Never." Somewhere in the crypt, a candle flickers and snuffs out, and behind you, a cold breeze whispers across your neck. Like breath, you whip around, heart suddenly thundering, but there's no one there. Only shadows, stone, and the thin scent of damp roses. Lord Hawthorne notices your shiver. "What is it?" "I felt something." He moves to your side, eyes narrowing as he scans the darkness. "These crypts are old, full of stories." You don't say it aloud, but it wasn't just a breeze. It was breath, cold, deliberate, and far too near your skin to be imagination. You rub your arms, trying to chase off the chill burrowing into your bones. There's a sudden clink, the copper coin. You both turn to the tombstone where it had been carefully placed. Gone. You stare, breath caught. "Did you see?" "It was right there," Hawthorne says, voice tight. You rush forward. No coin, no draft, nothing but smooth, silent stone. You straighten slowly. "So, what does that mean?" He hesitates. "If the legends are right, I chose to stay." You both fall silent. Then he gives a soft, bitter laugh. "Of course you did. You never could let things lie." You roll your eyes, and you never could admit you needed someone. The crypt echoes with your voices, your bickering, your breath. It's oddly comforting, like slipping back into old shoes you didn't know you'd missed. But comfort doesn't last long. Above, something scrapes, metal on stone. Then, clang, heavy, deliberate. You and Hawthorne look up in unison. "Was that?" "The outer gate," he says, grimly. "She's sealing us in." You start pacing. "Well, we can't stay here." He nods toward the far end of the crypt. "There's another passage, forgotten by most. But if it hasn't collapsed..." He doesn't finish the thought. You follow him down a narrow corridor lined with alcoves where old nobles sleep, their faces worn away by time. One coffin has a ring of dried marigolds still tucked beneath it. "Why marigolds?" you ask. "Superstition. They're meant to ward off spirits who whisper secrets into the ears of the living." You glance at him. "You don't believe that." "I believe plenty. Especially now." You reach a stone wall. Just stone, solid and blank. But Hawthorne presses along one edge until something shifts. A groan of old hinges, the wall opens inward, revealing stairs curling into the dark. No torches, no guarantee, just the kind of path that smells like dust and forgotten dreams. You descend. The air grows thicker, like walking into a storm cloud. Cobwebs brush your cheeks. You keep one hand on the wall, the other gripping your skirts. "Do you come down here often?" you ask lightly. "Only when women I loved were buried alive." Fair. You reach a wooden door at the base, rotting, but intact. He pushes it open. On the other side is a narrow corridor of brick and plaster, older than the rest of the manor. You passed what looks like an abandoned priest's cell, and then, finally, a crack of light ahead. You burst out into a low chamber beneath the old greenhouse. Sunlight streams through broken glass above. It smells like soil and sage. Hawthorne pulls you close. We're safe. For now. You nod, catching your breath. But then you both freeze. Footsteps. Soft. Deliberate. Approaching from the greenhouse above. You duck behind a stack of old crates, heart pounding. Lady Isolde appears. She moves like a shadow with a purpose, her cloak trailing over the cracked tile floor. In her hand, a book, leather-bound, ancient. She opens it with reverence, whispering something you can't hear. You lean closer. The language is strange. Not English, not Latin either. Something older. She stops reading suddenly and looks around. Her eyes pass over the crates. You swear they pause a heartbeat too long. Hawthorne's hand slides over yours. Don't breathe, he mouths. She closes the book, sighs, and tucks it back under her arm. Then, with a flick of her cloak, she disappears into the sun-dappled ruins of the garden. Only when the birds begin chirping again do you move. What was that book? You whisper. I don't know, but I've seen it before. It was Evelyn's. Your eyes widen. Mine? He nods. She kept it hidden, said it wasn't meant for anyone else, not even me. And now Isolde has it? Yes. You rise to your feet, brushing off dust and dead leaves. We need to get it back. He gives you a look. You were almost entombed again an hour ago. You wave him off. Don't be dramatic. You're clearly not used to dealing with inconvenient resurrections. He lets out a dry chuckle. You've always been like this. You pause. What do you mean? The real Evelyn, she hated being told what to do, would argue with saints if it meant proving a point. Once, she refused to bow before the bishop because she claimed his wig smelled like boiled onions. You snort. He probably deserved it. He absolutely did. You walk together through the tunnels until you find another exit, a forgotten wine cellar beneath the west wing. As you push open the trapdoor, sunlight spills over you both. The air smells of lilacs and something warm, like bread or memory. Outside, a boy is waiting. He's maybe 10, pale, freckled, sharp-eyed. You're her, he says to you. I blink. Pardon? The lady from the story, the one they burned. You came back. Hawthorne tenses. What's your name, boy? Luca. My ma is the cook. She says you shouldn't have lived 2 times. Smart woman, your mother, I say dryly. She also says ghosts don't bleed. Then he tosses you a small pebble. You catch it. Sharp. Black. Shiny. Obsidian. You look up. Where did you get this? He points toward the well behind the stable. They say that's where the hawk flew when you died. Then he runs off. You and Hawthorne exchange a look. That well's been sealed for years, he says. Then let's unseal it. Because of course, what better way to spend your second life than crawling into cursed places you probably died in the first time? The stable is quiet when you arrive, but not empty. A few horses shift in their stalls, tails flicking lazily as you pass. One dark mare, coal black, eyes soft, watches you like she knows. You pause long enough to let her sniff your fingers, and she huffs a warm breath into your palm. "She was yours," murmurs behind you, "named after a comet, Seraphina." You stroke her mane. "Did she miss me? She tried to bite me for a month after you died. Well, she's got taste." The well stands just beyond the paddock, its stone rim half covered by creeping vines and moss. The wood cover over it is old but intact, chained and bolted shut with a lock big enough to suggest someone really didn't want it opened. You crouch beside it. "Did you seal this?" Hawthorne shakes his head. "No, it was already like this when I inherited the estate." You glance at him. "So, what's down there?" "Superstition says it was the mouth of the underworld," he says. "More likely it's a dry pit with rats and regret. Or, you say, tapping the obsidian stone in your pocket, a very dead hawk." He grimaces. "Even better." The lock is rusted, but the chain itself is thick and hard to cut. You rummage through the tools in the stable and come back with a worn chisel and a small hatchet. It takes longer than you'd like, and halfway through your work, you realize the horses have gone silent, completely. Not even a snort, not a clatter of hooves. It's unnatural. You pause, chisel mid-swing, and glance at Hawthorne. He notices it too. "I don't like this." "Just one more." With a loud snap, the chain falls loose. The wooden lid creaks as you pry it open. A rush of cold air spills out. You lean over the edge, peering down into shadow. The well is deeper than it should be, far too deep. You squint, searching for the bottom, but there's only darkness. Then something glints, a tiny speck far below. "I see something." He leans beside you. "A reflection?" "No, it's not water." You lower a lantern down, tied to a rope. It swings gently, casting light along the well's stone throat. Then you see it clearly, a carved symbol on the inner wall. Circular, interlocking rings surrounded by delicate script you can't read. "It's the same as the feather," you murmur, "the same pattern." You sit back on your heels. "We need to go down there." "Absolutely not," Hawthorne says instantly. You give him a look. "You realize I've been burned at the stake already, yes? I'm not scared of a slightly ominous hole in the ground." "Slightly." But he helps you rig the harness anyway, looping rope around a winch system the grooms once used for barrels. It groans under your weight, but holds steady. "You're sure about this?" he asks one last time. "No," you admit, "but I'm going anyway." You descend slowly, the light swaying beside you. The air grows colder with every foot. Dampness clings to your skin, and that strange, faintly sweet scent drifts up, like crushed violets and something rotting underneath. You reach the bottom with a soft thud of boots on stone. It isn't muddy. It's tiled, smooth, strange, circular. As your lantern flares across the floor, you see a shape in the center. Feathers. A bird. Or what used to be one. A hawk skeleton lies curled in the middle, wings tucked in, as if it died asleep. But it isn't decay that holds it in place. It's preservation. The bones are bleached, perfect, undisturbed, and embedded in its chest, a black stone, obsidian, just like the one the boy gave you. You crouch. Something inside you pulses. You reach for it. Your fingers brush the stone, and a shock rips up your arm, a flash of pain, like lightning behind your eyes. You see fire, smoke, screams, the scent of burning roses. You see your own hands bound, and a voice, yours, but not, crying out, he lied to all of us." Then silence. When you come to, you're on your knees in the well. The stone is in your palm. Hawthorne is shouting from above, voice hoarse. "Evelyn, are you alive?" You croak up at him.
Define alive. He groans, relieved. Hold tight, I'm pulling you up. You tuck the stone into your bodice and grip the rope, arms shaking. Halfway up, you whisper, I think I remember.
You stand frozen. Isolde steps forward, each tap of her boots on the stone like a heartbeat you can't control. She holds the book to her chest, as if it were sacred, or perhaps just hers. I remember you being taller, she says coolly. You offer a sharp smile, and I remember you being less dramatic. She tilts her head, eyes glinting. You've come back wrong, haven't you? You shift your stance, subtly edging toward the fireplace poker. Funny, that's exactly what I thought about you. She laughs, but there's nothing warm in it. You don't know what you're meddling with, Eveline. That book isn't just ink and parchment. It's blood, bone, secrets older than this house, older than both our names. Hawthorne steps beside you. Then why hide it? She looks at him with a strange sort of pity. Because you wouldn't understand. You never understood. Always chasing honor and truth, while she gaze cuts back to you. She saw further. Even in death, she understood more than the rest of us alive. You don't flinch. That's why you killed me. Her lips twitch. I didn't lay the fire. I only whispered the match into someone else's hand. Your throat tightens. So who was it? Isolde shrugs. What does it matter now? You've come back. You've already unsealed the well, and you took the stone. You glance toward the hearth. So? So, now you can't stop it. The book pulses faintly, not visibly, but you feel it. In your teeth, in your bones. It's alive, not just magical, but conscious. You take a step forward. Give it to me. She laughs again. Oh, Eveline, you were always bold, but you never knew when to stop. I know now. Without warning, she tosses something to the floor, a bundle of dried poppy and wormwood tied with black twine. The room explodes in scent. You stagger back, coughing as your head spins. The air warps, walls shift, and when the smoke clears, she's gone. With the book. You're left clutching the fireplace for balance as the room tilts around you. Hawthorne steadies you. You all right? You nod, eyes still stinging. She used a summoning charm. That bundle, it's old hedge magic. He frowns. Witchcraft? Yes, but crude, rural, not like the rites I remember. Do you remember much? He asks quietly. You lean your head against the cool stone. Flashes, pieces, faces that meant something, and now feel like dreams. He lets the silence hang for a beat. Then, so where does she go now? You consider it. Somewhere private, sacred to her. A place the book won't fight back. Wait, it fights? You nod. It has a will. It's not just a record of spells. It's a mirror. It shows what people want and twists it. He curses softly under his breath. She's not reading it. She's using it. You grip the mantle tighter. But she doesn't know what it costs. A storm builds outside, sudden and fierce. Thunder cracks across the hills. Rain lashes the windows. In the manor, candles gutter. And in the wind you hear a voice. Yours. Not quite right, but close. Whispering. You were never meant to return. Hawthorne hears it too. What? You look at him sharply. We have to beat her to the sanctum. He frowns. What sanctum? You press your palm to the wall, heart racing. There's a room under the old chapel, hidden beneath the altar. That's where I kept the book the first time, before she took it. He raises an eyebrow. And you remember that. I remember the blood I left behind to seal it. You both rush to the corridor, skirts and boots slapping against the stone. The storm roars above, rattling chandeliers and shivering through the cracked glass. As you approach the chapel, the scent of rain gives way to something worse: mold and wax, old incense, and the iron tang of candle smoke. The chapel's empty, but the altar gleams with fresh polish. Someone's been here recently. You run your hand along the back of it, feeling for the notch. Click. A narrow seam splits in the stone, and the altar creaks open like a tomb. Below, steps descending into candlelight. You glance at Hawthorne. Stay behind me. Not a chance. You descend. The air is thick with old spells. Charcoal sigils coat the walls, blurred by time. At the base of the steps lies a chamber of smooth marble and fractured mirrors. In the center, a low pedestal, half-burned black. Charred remains of old pages lie scattered. I tried to destroy it once, but it wouldn't burn. From the shadows. And now you'll try again? You whirl around. Isolde stands at the far end of the chamber, book in hand, eyes lit by candlelight, and something more. She says softly, I opened the first gate. The well was the key. And you, Eveline, you are the lock. You freeze. What do you mean? She smiles gently. You were made for this. You don't remember, not truly. But the reason you came back wasn't a mistake. It was summoned. You blink. By who? She opens the book, and the shadows ripple. Not around her, but around you. You clutch your head as voices pour in, old, familiar, terrifying. Laughter, screams, pleas. Hawthorne catches you as your knees buckle. Ignore her, he whispers. Whatever this is, it's not you. But a part of you wonders. Maybe you weren't meant to survive. Maybe you were meant to return. Isolde raises her hands. I can use the book. I can finish what you started. And with you as the vessel, no. The voice doesn't come from you. It comes from the pedestal. The blackened stone pulses, glows, and from the ash, something rises. A feather, unburned, pristine, bright silver. You reach for it instinctively. As your fingers close around the quill, you hear it again. Not all deaths are endings, and not all books should be read. The feather burns cold in your palm. Silver light streams from your fingers, not blinding, but revealing. The chamber walls writhe with old symbols, lines you hadn't noticed before, ancient writing pulsing in a script your bones seem to remember, as if your blood still knows what your mind has forgotten. Hawthorne shields his eyes beside you. What is that thing? You don't answer. You're not sure you can. Isolde steps back, her bravado faltering. That's impossible. She whispers, I destroyed it. I watched it burn with the rest. You raise your hand. You burned ashes, not truth. The feather begins to float, hovering before you, spinning slowly. Its silver glow deepens into a shimmer like moonlight on oil, like memories folding in on themselves. And then a voice. Not external, not spoken. Inside you. Ink made of bone. Blood made of vows. Speak the name, and the mirror opens. Your breath catches. You know that phrase. You said it once. In the tower, just before everything burned. You whispered it as they dragged you to the stake, and the fire listened. Isolde's voice snaps through your trance. You can't control it. None of us can. That's why I kept it hidden. You look at her, truly seeing her now. Not just a jealous rival, not just a usurper of your life, but someone who feared you. Not because you were wicked, but because you were right. You didn't hide it. You stole it because you knew I could unlock it. Her jaw tightens. I did what I had to, for the house, for the bloodline. If that book fell into the wrong hands, then maybe the problem isn't the book. Maybe the problem is what we let it decide. You reach out. The feather hovers just above the pedestal. It glows brighter when near the book. No, not near the book, near you. You press the feather to the stone. The room groans. Stone cracks. The sigils on the walls light like stars. And from the pedestal, something rises. Not a creature, not a person, a door. Black, veined with gold. No hinges, no keyhole, just smooth obsidian, carved with the same circular patterns you've seen again and again. Hawthorne murmurs, "Is that a gate?" you say, "to memory, to truth." Isolde backs away, panic blooming in her voice. You can't go through. You don't know what you'll bring back. You stare at the door. Your reflection stares back, warping slightly. She's wearing the dress they burned you in. She's smiling. She remembers. You murmur. You step closer. Isolde lunges suddenly, screaming, trying to tear the feather from your hand. But Hawthorne moves faster. He intercepts her, grappling her back with a grunt. "Go," he shouts. You place your hand on the door, and everything stops. The candle flames freeze. Dust hang midair. The sound of thunder above. The creak of Hawthorne's boots. The scream caught in Isolde's throat. All vanish. And you step through. The world on the other side isn't a world. It's you. 1,000 memories unfold like petals, each one a room, each one a heartbeat. You walk through them like a ghost. You're a child, hiding beneath a library table, reading spells you weren't supposed to find. You're 17, binding your finger to a boy with ivy rings and a vow under a blood moon. You're older, standing in the tower, tears on your cheeks, holding the book to your chest and whispering, "No one else can bear this." Then, the fire. Not the flames that killed you, the first one, the fire you called. It blazed in the manor gardens, a ring of safety to protect your brother from the plague sweeping the outer villages. It worked, but it left you marked. A scar on your chest in the shape of the book's sigil. That's what changed everything. That's when Isolde turned against you. That's when the whispers started. She consorts with demons. She called death and watched it pass her by. She knows things she shouldn't. You remember standing before the crowd, Hawthorne pleading, Isolde silent. You remember the way the flames licked your ankles, slow and strangely merciful. You'd made a pact, not with evil, but with memory, with knowledge. You didn't die screaming. You died whispering a name. Your own. You blink. You're back in the sanctum. Time snaps forward like a whip. The door shudders behind you, then crumbles into ash. The feather dissolves. Isolde has collapsed to the floor, not injured, defeated. Her eyes wide with something far worse than fear. Recognition. You were the gate, she whispers. All along. You kneel beside her, and you were the lock. She shudders. Hawthorne helps you to your feet, his expression unreadable. Well, remind me never to cross you in a duel. You smile faintly. Only if it involves feathers. The book lies on the pedestal now. Quiet, still, waiting. You approach it slowly. Then place your hand over its cover. The sigil glows once, then fades. Locked again. But this time, under your terms. You turn to Hawthorne. We're not finished. He tilts his head. We? You nod. If I was brought back to open the gate, there's still a reason I came through it. And what reason is that? Your eyes lift to the ceiling, where above the storm begins to clear. You whisper, to change the ending.
The sun finds you, not directly. Its light seeps through cracks in the chapel above, dripping down in golden threads. Dust dances in it like spirits catching their breath. You sit on the edge of the pedestal, the book silent beside you, as if even it needs time to recover. Hawthorne leans against a column, watching you like you're a poem he can't quite translate. So, he says, arms folded, what now? You rewrite history? You shake your head. Not rewrite, remember it properly. He nods slowly. That sounds like something you'd say. You glance at him. Have I said it before? He shrugs, but his eyes are warm. Probably. You always liked things with weight. You smile faintly. Isolde lies unconscious on a bench in the corner, wrapped in one of Hawthorne's coats. Her breath is steady, face pale but no longer twisted with panic. You could have left her behind, let the book take her, let the gate exact its own price. But you didn't. Because once, before the fire, she was your sister, not by blood, but by bond. You still remember the time you stitched her hand when she fell from the orchard ladder. She had cried into your lap, and you'd told her stories of moon maidens and shadow kings to keep her from fainting. Some stories don't end where we expect. Some just break in the middle. That afternoon, you return to the manor. The storm has cleared. Everything smells wet and green, like earth waking from a long sleep. Maids avert their eyes as you pass, not in fear, more like awe. You wonder what they've heard. Whispers move fast in these halls. By evening, you've locked the book in the observatory, sealed it under glass, beneath the very star chart you etched in a previous life. The feather is gone, but the sigil lingers faintly on your palm like a brand that only you can feel. Dinner is quiet.
The household sits stiffly, unsure whether to bow or ask you to pass the salt. So you raise a toast to second chances and the danger of unfinished stories. Some chuckle nervously, some just drink. Hawthorne, at your right, raises his glass higher than anyone. Later, when the candles are low and the corridors grow hushed, he walks you to your chamber. "Bit strange," he says, "sleeping in a bed you died in." You smile. "I didn't die in the bed. I died because of what happened in it." He raises an eyebrow. "Sounds scandalous." "Tragically so." He pauses, then takes a breath. "What if I told you I remember some of it now?" Your eyes narrow. "What do you mean?" He leans against the doorway. "Not everything, just flashes, smells, a song. You used to hum something. That tune in the sanctum, that brought it back." You blink. "The lullaby?" He nods. "You sang it the night before they took you. I was outside the cell. Couldn't do anything but listen." Your chest aches. You thought he'd forgotten, thought the flame had wiped that memory like soot over glass. But he remembers. He steps closer, voice lower. "I couldn't stop them, Evelyn. I tried. I bled for it." You place your hand on his chest. "I know. That's why I came back." He tilts his head. "Not for vengeance?" You lean forward, forehead resting lightly against his. "For justice, for answers, and maybe for you." His breath catches. Outside the window, night spills across the hills like spilled ink. In the distance, wolves howl, a soft, familiar sound. They used to sing for you. You remember how they gathered in the orchard once, watching silently as you read aloud from a tattered journal beneath the sycamore. Not tame, but not hostile either, as if they knew. You wonder what else still waits in the forest, what magic survived while you burned. That night, dreams come in fragments. The gate, the book, a pair of eyes that aren't Hawthorne's, watching behind a veil of moss. You wake before dawn to the sound of bells. Not alarm bells, wedding bells. You throw on a cloak and rush downstairs. A maid, red-faced and breathless, meets you in the hall. "Miss Evelyn, it's Lady Brantley's wedding day." You blink. "The rival from town?" She nods. "The banns were rushed. Some say it's a political thing. Lord Everin's son, half the region's attending." You exhale. Of course they are. Because nothing draws attention like someone else's spectacle, and nothing distracts better than a celebration. You glance to the window. The town beyond is already stirring, banners lifting in the breeze. People are too busy polishing shoes and preparing honeyed pears to notice anything unusual, which is precisely when unusual things like to happen. You murmur to the maid, "Tell Hawthorne to meet me in the stables." You ride out before breakfast, not to join the wedding, but to pass beneath it, through the old tunnels that run under the chapel at Brantley. Because you remember something now. The book was only the first. There were 3 relics: the feather, the mirror, and the seed. The seed was buried at Brantley long ago, long before you were Evelyn, before anyone knew how to spell your name. Hawthorne rides beside you, wind whipping through his coat. You think Isolde knew about this? She knew parts, but the book only showed her what it wanted her to see. And you? You glance at him. I made the book. He blinks. You shrug. Well, wrote parts of it, long ago, before I was me. He laughs, wild and disbelieving. That's insane. You grin. And yet, here we are. The road bends. The town rises ahead, bells still ringing. Somewhere in the cellar beneath Brantley, a seed of power sleeps, and you are the only one who remembers why it was planted. Not to grow.
Brantley looms like a memory carved in limestone. The estate is older than any ledger claims, older even than the church it shadows. It presses against the land like it wants to bury itself, as if ashamed of the secrets underneath. You and Hawthorne tether your horses in the orchard, abandoned for the wedding. The branches hang low, heavy with ghost apples that no one dares pick after midsummer. There's a superstition about that here. Take fruit on the wedding day, and the bride will wither before winter. Superstitions don't usually scare you, but today you give the apples a wide berth. You find the tunnel behind the old grange wall. A few bricks loosen with a shove and fall inward, revealing a passage just big enough to crawl through. The scent that meets you is all iron and earth, like something exhaled from a sealed jar. Ladies first, Hawthorne offers. You shoot him a look. If a ghost eats me, you better weep dramatically. I'll rehearse on the way down. You drop into darkness. The tunnel is narrow, damp. The stone around you weeps with age. Somewhere above, the bells shift into a triumphant song. She's walking down the aisle now, Lady Brantley, her life about to change, or perhaps be bartered. You follow the curve of the passage until the air thickens. There, just ahead, a chamber. You slip inside and feel it immediately. The pull, like something knows you're here. The room is circular, carved deep into the earth, its walls lined with silver runes, dulled by dust. In the center sits a basin, stone, moss-crusted and dry. No seed in sight, but your chest aches. This is the place. Hawthorne lights a lantern behind you. Its glow reveals etchings on the floor, spirals like fingerprints, like the same sigils that marked the book and the door. You step closer. Where is it? Hawthorne murmurs. You kneel by the basin. Whisper, come back. Nothing happens. You press your hand to the stone, and something clicks beneath your palm. A seam. You push, and the basin shifts, grinding with a sound that sends tremors through the stone. It slides aside, revealing not a seed, but a cradle. Inside it, an orb, smooth, amber dark, the size of your heart, not glowing but warm, breathing almost. Your fingers tingle before you even touch it. That's not a seed, Hawthorne says. No, you murmur. It's a memory. You lift it gently. Visions flood your mind, too fast to parse. A woman in a crimson veil planting it beneath moonlight. A man with a hawk tattoo cutting his palm and bleeding onto the earth above it. A vow spoken in an ancient tongue. What we bury shall return. You stagger back. Hawthorne steadies you. Evelyn, what did you see? You press the orb to your chest, and it opens. Not cracks, petals, like a flower made of stone and starlight, unfurling.
At its core, a single black sliver, like obsidian, like a thorn, like proof. You touch it. The world drops out from under you. You're back in another life. No, you're not Evelyn. You're someone else, older than language, younger than time. You stand at a different altar, one carved of bones. You hold the seed, and beside you stands the veiled woman, the one from the vision. She turns. You see her face, and it's Isolde. Not this Isolde, another version, long dead, but her eyes are the same, and she's crying. You promised, she whispers. You feel yourself speak, but the words are not your own. I did. You said no blood. I lied. She slaps you. You don't flinch, because you deserve it. And then, the veil falls. The altar collapses. The sky opens, and something vast looks down, and all goes black. You're on the floor, gasping. The orb is gone. So is the thorn. Hawthorne is beside you, pale. You stopped breathing. You sit up. I was someone else. He nods. You whispered a name. What name? I don't know, he admits. But the walls listened. You glance up. The runes around the chamber glow faintly, and above the basin, where the orb once lay, a new object floats. A mirror. Small, hand-sized, oval, framed in bone-colored silver. You take it carefully. No reflection, just depth, as if it's not glass, but water. Your fingers itch. This is the second relic. Hawthorne watches you closely. Hawthorne watches you. You hesitate, because a mirror made to reflect truth isn't always kind. But you lift it anyway, and see, not yourself, but the fire, the stake, the screaming. Only this time, it's Isolde who burns, and you who walks away, holding the book, smiling. You drop the mirror. It doesn't break. It lands softly in your lap. Hawthorne kneels. What did you see? You answer slowly. A warning, or maybe a possibility. He reaches for your hand. Whatever it is, you won't face it alone. You look at him, really look, and for the first time, you see not just a knight or a guardian. You see the one who never stopped carrying your ghost, even when the world buried you. And maybe, just maybe, you don't have to be buried anymore.
You ride back with the mirror wrapped tight in your cloak, pressed against your ribs like a hidden heart. Hawthorne doesn't speak, not until the manor walls rise again ahead of you, pale and serene against a deepening sky. Then, quietly, he says, "You really think these relics were part of some grand ritual, a resurrection?" You shake your head. Not resurrection, more like a reroute. "A second chance," he murmurs, "or a last one." When you reach the stables, you dismount slowly, legs aching with something more than the ride. The mirror still pulses faintly through the fabric. Inside the manor, servants bustle in whispers. The Brantley wedding has gone off without hitch, or so the rumors say, but you feel it, a shift, like someone's meddled with fate and the seams haven't quite restitched. You stop on the landing of the grand staircase. A woman stands at the top, draped in shadow, and you know her before she steps into light. Isolde, not the one from your visions,
not the weeping woman who shared your secrets long before anyone named her a traitor. No, this is now Isolde, and she's holding the book open. How? You breathe. She smiles, small and bitter. You were careless. Hawthorne reaches for his sword. Don't, she warns, her fingers ghosting over the page. Unless you'd like to see what happens when I turn to the last entry. You still your breath. There is no last entry. The book wasn't finished. Her smile deepens. It is now. Your heart stutters. The book only writes itself when the right voice opens it. Yours. She didn't just steal it. She spoke to it. Why, you ask? She steps down a stair. Because I remembered too. I remembered who we were before fire and feathers. I remembered what you did. You blink. I gave you power, and you gave it to them, to the people. You wanted freedom, I wanted control. You whisper, you betrayed me. And you burned. She shrugs. But now we're even. The book trembles in her hands. You take a slow step forward. You don't understand what you're holding. She laughs. Don't I? I've had years to learn it, to memorize it. Even before you died, I studied it. You couldn't have. I was there the night you wrote the first page, when the stars bled and the tree cracked in two. Your pulse skips. I was in the orchard, she whispers, watching. You remember now. You were 15, the first time you bled into the roots of that twisted ash and wrote with a quill made from your own hair. You thought no one saw, but she did. You reach into your cloak and unwrap the mirror. Her eyes flick to it, narrow. It's only a mirror, you say softly. I know what it is. Then look. She falters. You extend it gently. If you're right, if you really know the truth, then the mirror will show you peace. A pause. Her lips twitch. Then she reaches. She takes it, and she looks. Silence. Then a gasp. Not pain, not fear. Grief. Tears bloom in her eyes as she stares. You can't see what the mirror shows her, only that it weakens her grip on the book. She drops it and backs away, whispers, I thought it was you who ruined everything. You catch the book before it hits the floor. It was never about ruin. It was about choice. We both had it. We both made it. Isolde sinks onto the stairs, dazed. He came to me. Your spine chills. Who? The one with the crow-marked hand. He told me the relics with keys, that if I helped him gather them, he'd bring me back. You blink. You were never gone. She was, she trembles. When you died, so did I, just slower. Hawthorne speaks from behind you. What's this about a man with a crow's mark? Isolde nods, voice fragile. He's the third piece, the one who watched us fall apart the first time. He's still watching. You clutch the book tighter, because you remember now. The thorn in the seed, the eyes behind the veil, the hands that guided the fire. He wasn't just an observer, he was the architect, and he's still out there, waiting for you to gather every piece, so he can claim them all at once. You look at Isolde. Where did he go? Her voice is a ghost. To the well beneath the world. Your mouth goes dry. That's not a place, Hawthorne mutters. You say, it's a trap. Because there's one more relic left, not in this world, but below it. The third, the heart, and it's calling you. That night, you don't sleep. You sit by the hearth, the book in your lap, the mirror on the mantel, and Isolde curled in a chair across from you, silent. Hawthorne sits on the floor beside your chair, one hand brushing yours now and again, not needing to speak, just present,
just with you. You remember an old superstition. If you look into a mirror at midnight and see nothing, your soul has already left you. You glance at the mirror and see your reflection, still here, still you, still dangerous.
You leave at dawn, not in secret. Secrets have a way of unraveling, but quietly, deliberately, like you're following the rhythm of something older than urgency. Hawthorne rides beside you, the book strapped to your saddlebag, the mirror wrapped in lamb's wool and tucked beneath your cloak. Isolde stays behind. Her final words echo even now. He'll be waiting. He always is. You believe her. She saw something in the mirror that neither of you dared to name aloud, and for the first time, her silence feels more loyal than all her past words combined. The road winds down through fog, toward the far end of the valley, where no farms grow and no bells ring. They call it the withering border, where the land folds under itself and becomes cave and cliff, mist and memory. It's the place where stories end, and the place you buried something the first time. You don't remember what, only that you wept while doing it. Do you think we'll find it? Hawthorne asks, voice low. We won't need to. It'll find us. At noon, the land drops away, and there it is, the well beneath the world. You'd almost laugh if it weren't so horrifyingly literal. It isn't a well as much as a chasm, a spiraling pit of stone and shadow, carved by no tool made by man. The cliff around it is ringed with weather-worn pillars, each etched with different tongues, dead dialects, ancient warnings, or maybe prayers. You tie the horses to an old iron post. Then you descend. The spiral staircase carved into the rock is barely wide enough for 2 feet, and the air turns strange the farther you go. Not stale, not cold, but listening, like the walls know you. Halfway down, you pass bones, human maybe, some still wrapped in silk. Offerings? Hawthorne murmurs. I nod. Or warnings. Below, the air shifts. A faint blue glow pulses from the pit's base. And in the center, rising like a thorn from a wound, stands an altar. Black stone. No seams, no age. Atop it, the final relic. The heart. But not a heart like you expect. It's shaped like an apple, smooth, dark, and humming, and it's breathing. You take a slow step forward. The moment your boot touches the altar's platform, everything stops. No wind, no sound. Even Hawthorne behind you goes still. And a voice, rich, male, dry as old velvet, echoes from the far edge of the chamber. Did you think I would not come to greet you? You turn. There he is. Not a demon, not a beast, just a man in black, hand-gloved, the other bare. On his wrist, the tattoo of a crow's claw. He smiles, teeth just slightly too white. You always bring drama when you return. Your breath catches. You know me? He bows, intimately. You made me.
A chill spreads down your arms. Impossible. Oh, not at all. You wrote me into the book, into the margins, a guardian, a punishment, a guide. I never... He cuts you off. You didn't intend to, but when you created the rules, you also created the consequences. I am one. Hawthorne steps forward, hand on his blade, but the man lifts one gloved finger and Hawthorne freezes mid-step. Not dead, just paused, like breath held too long. You don't get to hurt him, you growl. The man says calmly, I haven't, just delayed him so we can speak honestly. He steps closer. You've gathered the three: book, mirror, heart. Do you know what that means? You nod. I can rewrite what came before. He shakes his head. You can choose whether to keep it. A pause. Everything you remember, your death, your betrayal, his grief, none of it has to stay. One command and the world will reforge around your will. No more pain, no more memory, just peace. You stare at the heart. You could do it. Erase the fire. Erase the part where you failed. Live again. Not as a martyr, but as a woman. With Hawthorne. With safety and maybe even joy. But then you look at Hawthorne, still frozen in time, a single strand of his hair caught midair, drifting. And you know, he would never want you to forget, because memory is what makes love real. You turn to the man in black. No deal. He lifts a brow. You'd rather carry the weight of failure forever? Yes, you whisper. Because it wasn't failure, it was truth. And truth, however cruel, is mine. You hold the book open, lay the mirror flat, and lift the heart. They glow, together. A hum builds in your bones. The man sighs. So predictable. And then he lunges. But not at you, at Hawthorne. You scream his name as the world collapses in light. Everything blurs, the relics shatter, the altar crumbles, and a scream, not yours, rips through the stone. When you open your eyes, Hawthorne is beside you, alive, breathing. The man in black is gone, not dead, bound. And in your palm, only ash. The relics are gone, but the memory remains. You touch Hawthorne's face. He leans in and kisses you like an answer, not a question, not a rescue, just a yes. You breathe again, for the first time.
You sleep beneath a canopy of stars that night, cradled in Hawthorne's arms, the sky humming with a hush that feels like forgiveness. The well is sealed behind you, the altar broken and the air cleared of its age-old pulse. Yet you don't feel triumphant, you feel real, exhausted, imperfect, and devastatingly human. When dawn glimmers like melted gold across the cliffs, you rise without speaking, knowing it's time to return, not just to Brantley, but to the world you once ran from. The relics are gone, the man in black unmade by the very power he once promised, but you are still here, So is your unfinished story, and you're finally ready to write the rest of it. The ride back is quiet, save for the creak of saddle leather and the occasional sigh of wind. Hawthorne rides close, his gloved hand brushing yours when the road narrows. You glance at him once, catch the warmth in his eyes, and say nothing. Sometimes silence is the loudest kind of intimacy. When Brantley appears on the horizon, you pause. Something has changed. The manor still stands, the gates still shine, but the flags hang different, richer, older, stitched with a sigil you've never seen before. You feel that? Hawthorne asks. You nod. It's not just us that changed. The world did too. Lady Brantley greets you at the steps. She's still dressed in the gown from her wedding day, but it's no longer white. It's scarlet, embroidered with a language you recognize from the altar. She steps forward and bows. To you. She says, "We felt it the moment you shattered the relics, the moment you rewrote the wound." You blink. You remember? Only pieces, like echoes. She studies you. But I know you're the reason this land breathes again. You exchange a glance with Hawthorne. She steps aside. There's someone you should see. You enter the manor and follow her through unfamiliar halls, chambers that didn't exist yesterday, portraits that weren't on these walls before. It's as if the house shifted while you were away, or maybe it always had these rooms, hidden, waiting to be remembered. In a quiet parlor by a fireplace you do recall, someone rises from a velvet chair. Isabel. Older, stronger, eyes clear. She wears no mask now, just a simple blue dress and an expression that holds every life she's lived, yours, hers, and all the ones burned between. She says softly, "I wanted to see you one last time." You approach. "Are you leaving?" She nods. "I've done my part, and I'm tired. I think I need to walk a road that doesn't bend back toward pain." You smile. You deserve that. She takes your hand. So do you. The fire pops between you, and for the first time, it doesn't sound like bones breaking. She squeezes your fingers once, then walks past Hawthorne and out the door. No farewells, just peace. That night, the manor throws a feast, not for victory, but for renewal. The long hall glows with lanterns carved from hollowed stone fruit, each one lit with a wish written on paper and tucked inside. It's a local custom you'd forgotten. If your light burns till dawn, your truth remains unbroken. You write nothing. Instead, you slip a blank page into your lantern and let it drift to the ceiling with the others. Maybe the truest wish is the one you're still learning how to name. You dance once with Hawthorne, barefoot on the old mosaic tiles. He doesn't lead, you don't follow, you just move. Like water, like wind. Like you were always meant to bend together and never break. Later, in the quiet of the upstairs corridor, you find yourself outside the old library. The door creaks when you push it open. Inside, the shelves have changed, rearranged. The book is gone, of course, shattered with the heart, but there, on the table, rests something new. A single journal, leather-bound, blank.
You lift it. Its cover is stitched with one word: choose. You glance at Hawthorne. He smiles softly. It's yours. Mine to write? He shrugs. Or just carry? You decide. You press the book to your chest, and it beats once like a second pulse. You understand. It's not about rewriting the past. It's about owning it. Every burn, every kiss, every betrayal, every mercy, every choice. And now, you get to choose again.
You return to the orchard, where you once bled into the roots of a twisted ash tree, the place where it all began, your power, your death, your undoing. It's smaller than you remember, or maybe you're just larger now, wiser, warmer, realer. The branches above shiver in the late spring wind, blossoms half furled like they're listening. You kneel in the soil, brush aside the moss, and find the hollow you once filled with secrets. It's empty now, but the earth still knows you, still welcomes you. Behind you, Hawthorne leans against the trunk of a gnarled pear tree, arms folded. Is this where the poetry starts? You smirk. It never really stopped. He grins, then tosses you something. You catch it. An apple. Crimson, cold from his saddlebag. Not the heart, just fruit. You bite into it anyway. Juice runs down your wrist. He watches you with quiet curiosity. What? You say, mouthful. You look like you belong here, like you finally believe this world wants you in it. You pause. Then, I think I do. You stand, brushing off your skirt. There's a superstition here, older than the orchard, older than the manor. If a reborn soul eats the fruit of its past, its memories will settle into place like coins in a wishing well. You believe it. Because when the apple's gone, you remember the first time you kissed Hawthorne. It wasn't in the rain. It wasn't during battle. It wasn't even the first time you thought you loved him. It was quiet, unremarkable, just a stolen moment behind a curtain during a dull winter council. He handed you a letter. You kissed him on impulse, and he dropped the letter on the floor like it was nothing, just so he could kiss you back. And now, standing in the orchard, you remember all of it, and you ache. Not from regret, from joy. On the ride back, a boy runs to meet you on the road, barefoot, smudged in ink, waving a rolled parchment. He stammers as he bows. "Message, m'lady. Urgent." You unfold it. It's from Isolde. "Meet me where the statues drink. Come alone. Bring nothing." You glance at Hawthorne. He raises an eyebrow. "Is this a trap?" "Of course, but not for me." You leave your horse. Walk. The fountain she means is deep in the Brantley Gardens, tucked behind a hedge maze and a grove of flowering chokeweed. The statues that line it aren't saints or kings. They're lovers, frozen mid-dance, cheek to cheek, hand to heart. Their mouths drip water into the basin below. She's waiting there. Isolde. Cloaked, pale, poised like something out of a legend. "You came," she says. I nodded. "I owed you that." She smiled faintly. "I didn't come to collect." You approach, sit beside her on the edge of the basin. The statues drip water behind you like ticking clocks.
I remembered something else from before we were torn apart. You wait. She doesn't meet your eyes. You told me you forgave me that last night before they burned you. You blink. I did? She nods. And I didn't believe you. Silence. She breathes in. But I do now. You lean in, kiss her temple. It feels like closure. She wipes a tear and hands you a small wooden box. Inside is a stone ring, the one you gave her, the one she threw into the river after you died. How? You whisper. She shrugs. It came back to me, in a dream. Maybe some ghosts are kind. You take it, slip it into your pocket. Then you both sit still. Two ghosts with nothing left to haunt. That night in your room, you turn the ring over in your palm. Hawthorne watches from the bed. Are you going to give it back? You smile. No, I'm going to keep it. He rises, walks to you, takes the ring, slips it on a ribbon, ties it around your neck, and says simply, "Good." The wind outside moans like a lullaby. You exhale, and finally sleep.
The dream begins where the orchard ends. You walk barefoot along the edge of a quiet lake, the sky glassy with moonlight, the air wrapped in lavender and salt. The lake is not one you know, not in this life, but your body remembers it. Each step takes you closer to something you cannot name, not fear, not peace, something between. From the water's edge rises a single figure. Not Hawthorne, not Isolde, not even the man in black. You. Not a reflection, but another you. Draped in silk and starlight, barefoot, smiling softly. You don't speak. You only raise your hand, and she, you, places a finger on your heart and says, "Now, choose what stays." You wake gasping, sweat on your chest, morning light slicing through the shutters. Hawthorne still sleeps beside you, one arm draped across your hip. You slip from bed, wrap yourself in a robe, and walk to the window. Brantley is blooming again. The river's risen, birds dart through the sycamore trees, and smoke curls gently from the chimneys of the village. The manor breathes like a living thing, reborn just as you are. And for the first time, you think, maybe I am no longer a wound walking. Maybe you're simply living. Word comes at noon. Lady Brantley is abdicating her title, not dying, not fleeing, just stepping aside. "I've done my duty," she says to the gathered lords, "and the land is ready for a softer rule." She passes the crest to you. You hold it in your palm, iron, cold, ancient, and don't flinch. The council doesn't protest. They simply bow. And that's how it happens. Not with a crown, not with a coronation, but with quiet acceptance. You rule Brantley now, not as queen, not as saint, as yourself. Weeks pass. You learn the rhythms of the court again, this time on your terms. You walk through gardens that used to ache. You host banquets that end in laughter, not blood. You sleep without spells and wake without dread.
And Hawthorne? He's always near, but never crowding. Sometimes you find him at the forge, sleeves rolled, cursing gently under his breath as he hammers out hinges or repairs old locks. Sometimes he reads to you in the evenings, sprawled across the library chaise, his voice just low enough to lull you into warmth. Sometimes he kisses you mid-sentence, just because. But love is not always soft. There are nights he tells you the truth, about what it cost him to watch you die, about how long he held your body after they burned the pyre down, about the dreams he had of your hands reaching for him, flames clinging to your fingers. You cry then, not from grief, from the immensity of it all. And then you pull him into bed and bury your face in the hollow of his throat and whisper, "I'm here. I'm here. I'm still here." And he holds you like that matters more than any spell ever cast. In Brantley, there's a custom for the reborn. On the 13th full moon after a soul's return, they must climb the North Tower and ring the bell exactly 13 times. No more, no less. They say if you do it right, your name is set into the bones of the land forever. The moon is high. The air shivers. You climb, one step at a time. At the top, the bell waits. No guards, no ceremony, just you. And the wind. You grip the rope and pull. Once. The sound is low, deep, like the earth humming through your feet. Twice. You close your eyes. Thrice. Each ring pulls a thread from your chest until, by the 13th, you are nothing but breath and belonging. When you step back from the rope, you see a single figure waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Hawthorne, of course. He's holding a lantern and wearing the expression of a man who would follow you into any storm. You descend, and when your feet touch the floor, he offers his hand. Was it loud? You ask. Louder than anything, he murmurs, but only because it was yours. You smile and let him lead you home. The final weeks of spring unfold like a lover's letter, slow, fragrant, half-whispered. You begin your days with ink-stained fingers, cataloging new plants discovered in the reawakened forest. The old garden witch, Meryl, insists you possess soil luck, a rare trait that makes seedlings flourish simply from proximity. You're not so sure, but your window boxes do look suspiciously lush. In the afternoons, Hawthorne teaches you to spar, not for war, but for rhythm, for joy. He corrects your grip, your balance, your posture, all with maddening patience. "I thought you liked me dangerous," you tease after tripping over your skirts for the 3rd time. "I do," he says, lips at your temple. "But I like you standing, too." Evenings are for music and wandering. You take long walks through the Brantley woods, tracing old paths once haunted by ghosts you no longer carry. Sometimes you find little talismans hung from tree branches, silver charms, braided grasses, tiny wooden hearts. The villagers leave them for you. A thank you, a blessing, a promise, because you gave them back more than a home. You gave them hope. One day, a courier arrives bearing a sealed letter with no name. Inside, a map, drawn in charcoal and blood-red ink. A mountain range, a star, a word in the corner. Begin. You show it to Hawthorne. He frowns. "You think it's real? I think it's next." You leave the decision for another day.
For now, it's enough to know that the road is still out there, and it's waiting. There's a final rite in Brantley for those who've been reborn, the silent toast. No audience, no speech, just one moment alone in the Great Hall, standing before the ancestral fire, a glass of blackberry wine in your hand. You stare into the flames and say nothing. You don't need to. You feel the words echo in your bones. I lived. I burned. I returned. You drink, and the wine tastes like dusk and ink and old blood forgiven. You step from the hearth and into the life you chose. That night, you and Hawthorne return to the orchard. The stars are out, the blossoms are gone. In their place, fruit, full, sweet, ripe with new beginnings. He takes your hand. Do you remember what I said the first time we met? You tilt your head. You threatened to arrest me? He grins. No, before that. You blink. And then you remember. I said you looked like trouble, he murmurs. And I said, you smile, you had no idea. You both laugh, and then he's quiet. The orchard hums around you. Will you stay? You kiss him, soft, unhurried, certain. I already did. You don't need a ceremony, or a vow, or even a ring. You have the orchard, you have the silence, you have each other. And that's enough. Always. Forever.
Later, the night deepens into velvet, and the manor grows hushed with sleep. You lie in bed, limbs tangled with hawthorns, the candlelight flickering soft across the stone walls. His breathing is steady, warm against your neck. The wind sighs at the windows like it's trying to tell you a story, but you already know how it ends. With you here, alive, loved, whole. There are no more monsters under the bed, no curses hanging above your head like swords, just the slow, steady rhythm of a life you fought to reclaim, a love you never had to earn, a name that no longer hurts when it's whispered. You let the silence wrap around you, the kind that doesn't echo, the kind that holds. Maybe you'll chase the map one day, find new edges of the world to walk, new relics to bury, new memories to live. But tonight, this soft breath of stillness is enough. You reach out, curl your fingers into his, and in that small gesture is everything. A war ended, a curse lifted, a home found. You fall asleep to the sound of the orchard wind and the promise that whatever waits next, you'll meet it together. And in the dark, something in the world smiles because you made it and you stayed.